program, let's bring in Texas Congressman Sessions, who is also a member of the House Financial Services Committee. Congressman, welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much, Lyndsay.
Hey, Congressman, Pelosi says over the weekend she's going to get all 4 of the pieces of legislation that we discussed passed this week: the budget, the debt ceiling, the $1.2 trillion, the $3.5 trillion. What do you think it goes from here?
Well, I was back home, as I am every weekend, and listening to people, and you will notice the things that you both have outlined is very indicative of administrations that run from reality. In this case, they're leaving chaos behind. They've left COVID behind. They've left Afghanistan behind. They've left the problems in Afghanistan behind. They've left behind, they're trying to get away from their border problems. They're trying to get away from the storm. They keep leaving chaos behind them, and they want to move to their answer, their quadrant that they think that they could get done. But meanwhile, the American people, inflation is up, jobs are still a problem. They do not have people going back to work. So do I think Mrs. Pelosi is going to get it done? I will tell you that she has the ultimate of tricks, and that is to control her members. And she controls her members, and she controls what she says to them. I think she said, as you suggested, she's promised everybody everything. But that is not the United States Senate. And so this is going to have to get to the Senate. We'll find out what their chances are there. But I've learned a long time ago, Mrs. Pelosi, even if she says things like, we're going to have to read the bill to find out what's in it, she wants to pass her agenda despite the chaos in the country.
Yeah. Congressman, this $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill, it was bipartisan support in the Senate. Where does that stand right now in the House with Republicans? Will it have bipartisan support there?
Well, I think there's a lot of people that understand and need. We've got to have an infrastructure bill. But I think there are several provisions of that. It gives way too much money to the administration to make decisions about they will spend, where the money will be spent. It spends too little on actual infrastructure. And one of the newest key parts is, and the provisions which Republicans, and I think most Democrats support, is Buy American, except that they've now come in with a provision that guts that measure that can be waived entirely by any government official or the administration. And so it means that this goes back as a gift to China. And these are all questions that abound about where we're going to spend the money, how much will be spent, but what will be actually fixed in this country. And until they fix those provisions, Republicans, I do not believe, will be voting for this bill at all.
So it's interesting because the president tweeted out that his Build Back agenda costs $0. How do you have a bill that costs $1.2 trillion and then one costs $3.5 trillion that costs $0? How stupid do they think we are?
Well, that is, if they got what they wanted by having the world's largest tax increase, by taxing employers, by taxing all sorts of people, including farmers and ranchers and the middle class. He is talking about aggregate. But to say these things is as foolish as President Obama was when he said Obamacare would not cost anyone a penny. Oh, by the way, and you can keep your own doctor. Neither one of those were truthful. This is a deceptive way to not just to talk, but to give people an expectation that is not true. It is going to cost money. It is going to cost the American people not only money, but quite likely will cost us jobs too, because just as President Obama, these products and services will come from overseas, not American-made producers.
Congressman, Democrats have control of the House, the Senate, and the White House. If they can't pass this $3.5 trillion deal, what does that say about the state of their party?
Well, I think it says that reality is setting in certain parts of this. The unemployment, the high problem that we have with inflation, cost of goods and services. The Fed this last week admitted that they are getting baked into long-term. Unemployment is going to be higher. Inflation will be far higher. They gave a rosy picture 6 weeks ago. That is not what's happening now, 6 and 7 and 8 weeks later, as we get to the decision-making on funding the government. They need to fund the government. That is a responsibility that the majority has, but their socialist agenda is getting in the way. And that big government piece means that people back home see and feel this. And so as members go back home and talk about what they will do, there are people back home saying, I don't think that's so wise. I don't think that is the right thing to do to put America in a bad position.
I tell you what, I think when people back home should start asking the member of Congress, if you pass a $1.2 trillion bill and you pass a $3.5 trillion bill, I want to know that you've read it, because I can guarantee you none of these clowns have read it. But I want to turn to this border crisis that's going down, and obviously being from Texas, this is something near and dear to you and people in your neck of the woods. But the Biden administration announced Monday plans to create a rule that would recreate the DACA program. I think this is proof. Like, it's get them all in, get them to stay in America, and then put them on that pathway to citizenship. This is proof that this is all about future voters.
I think you're right. And what we're looking at here is where the Supreme Court had ruled on this when President Trump was in office, that DACA would stay as it were, but not add to that. I believe that what they're doing is they have let almost 2 million people in this country. We have no real clue who they are. We cannot trace the children. They're simply bringing them in and releasing them. It is a mess for local communities, local schools, local hospitals, and local governments that are trying to make a go of it without federal aid and help. So you're right. The border is a continuing problem. They want to embed as many people in this country to make sure that America becomes a welfare country and a welfare state. They're headed that way now, and they're doing a darn good job.
Absolutely.
Congressman Sessions, always appreciate your time. Thanks for being here this evening.
Thank you very much. I think we need to keep in mind here that what the president is trying to do is to permanently change the face of this country by making us a poor country instead of rule of law. It's disappointing.
Yep.
That is disappointing. Congressman Sessions, thank you.